Welcome back to the Beach Chair Chats. I'm Brian here on a beautiful day. I think it's I don't know what day it is anymore. Thursday. That's how what kind of life and work it's been lately. But I'm happy to have a newly retired teacher, Tika Epstein. How are you today, Tika?
I'm great, thank you. How are you today?
Well, I'm still not retired, so I'm still working in education. So, but you are not. You are done. So, talk a little bit. What's retirement been like? I mean, is this you're just done, right? Currently,
I'm finished, yes, after 31 years
31
of
years.
serving as an educator in Las Vegas. I am officially retired. I spend my days learning what that means, which
There's always
is different since I've been an educator since I was 22 years old. So I'm just learning the different things of what I would like to do next.
well, there's always the thing about retirement is do people have a plan, right? There's always when you face retirement, it's like, what am I going to do when I'm done, right? So talk about just the process, right, of getting to retirement, your whole career. I mean, just talk about that process of what it was to kind of like, sunset everything and like close that door. What was that experience like to say goodbye?
Well, I'm a Gen Xer, so I've always been told you work your whole life. You don't
Hmm.
retire. My dad worked until he was 70, and he always taught us you just keep working. You don't stop.
Hmm.
So I never thought retirement would be a thing. And my children laugh at me because they're like, "You didn't think you were ever going to retire."
Hmm.
And at 30 years, my school district pretty much makes you retire unless you want to do what's called double dipping. And I didn't want to do that. I retired as a principal, so I just did not want to go back into the classroom, even though I love teaching.
Hmm.
That just wasn't for me right now. And I it was not a just me decision, it was a family decision. And my husband and my children and I, we all talked about it, and we thought this would be the right time to
Okay.
retire. So it was a year in the making.
Well, yeah. Well, you said you finished as a principal.
Yes, I did.
Was that always the goal to be the principal, or you started out as an educator or teacher? What was, your whole 31 years? What did you start out as?
I started as a first grade teacher.
All right.
31 years ago, I worked at a very at risk school in Las Vegas. I grew up here. I've been in Las Vegas since I was two. I'm a product of the school system. So are my children. And all I ever knew is I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And when I became a teacher, I didn't think I would do anything but teach and possibly be an instructional coach. And after 26 years in the classroom, I decided to be an admin.
Hmm.
I was an assistant principal for a wonderful school for 2 years, and then I was a principal for a fantastic school for 3 years.
So obviously there's two different worlds, right? Of being a
Yes.
teacher and an instructor, then you flip the script and become an admin. Even in higher ed, we see the difference in the parallels of like we have our faculty and then we have our staff. It's like two different worlds in what we do. Did you see a big shift in like taking yourself out of the classroom as a teacher to be the admin, or what was that transition like for you?
I always wanted to remember, and I know my staff knows this, that I was a teacher first. So, yes, there's a significant shift because you're not responsible for 36 kids, you're responsible for 500 plus 90 staff. And you're not just responsible for the immense education, which is a very difficult job to teach 36 different minds on the curriculum, but you're also responsible for a budget, hiring, safety,
Hmm.
and working with families from all different backgrounds and support the families, support the staff, support the kids, support the community. So it
Hmm.
is very different. I loved all of it. And but no, the going into education, I never thought I would become a principal. It was just something that I finally decided after both of my kids were they both graduated from high school. I decided that that's something I would like to do.
So when you think about like being a principal in today's generation, right? 31 years, it's everything's evolved a lot in 31 years. what were some of the biggest changes you started to see as you finished out your career, either as a teacher or being in the classroom with students, and just the challenges they face, or just whatever the teachers had to face versus when you started? Did you see a big shift in those years?
I would say so, definitely. When I've always worked at risk schools
Hmm.
and kids that are the neediest, they need everything given to them because their parents work very hard, but they can't afford things. Free and reduced lunch was always common, and giving backpacks and things like that. But when I first started teaching, parents would tell their kids that, listen, this is your teacher and you're going to be respectful and you're going to follow directions. And if
Hmm.
they get, they have a problem in class or there's an issue, I talk with the parents. The parents were there to back me up. Now, not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much. There are parents that were there to support me and to support the decision of the teacher, but uh, now it's more of what did the teacher do? What did I do? What didn't
Hmm.
I accommodate? Um, and again, I treated every one of my students as one of my own.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not your typical principal. That's what I've been told multiple times. I'm not the typical principal because I was always in the classroom.
Yeah.
I was always in there to jump in. Anytime a teacher is like, why don't you teach number talks or why don't you teach this reading lesson? Okay, let's do it. The other thing is, in the classroom, I always followed the standards. We had the Common Core state standards from the time my son was 10. And I always followed the standards or the objectives back before the Common Core was
Hmm.
around, but I always reinvented the wheel. I always used
Yeah.
things that I either created or I found. Um, teaching during COVID, I taught fifth grade during COVID. It didn't scare me because I was always used to learning something new.
Hmm.
I never repeated the same lessons year to year. Um, Now it's you're going to follow
Yeah.
this this curriculum, and that for me was very difficult as an
Uh,
educator.
yeah, it takes away, like, education and teaching. I always feel like it used to be like a very glamorous, like, draw career, going
Yep.
back in time. Now you say you have these standardized assessments and tests and say you're going to do this. There's no wiggle room, and you have to follow this assessment. You have to follow whatever we say you have to do, you do, which from a teaching standpoint, it takes away that creativity and freedom to try to find new ways to help kids learn. And did you start to see students struggle more with this kind of, like, I hate to use the term, force-fed curriculum, that they started to struggle more on not meeting those standards?
I do because the curriculum didn't fit the kid. I mean, here
Mm,
in Las Vegas, most of my students, where I was an educator, my kids didn't leave their 5 mile radius.
mm,
So they've never been on an airplane.
mm.
They've never been to the mountains. We have mountains here, but they haven't been there. A lot of my kids have never even been to the grocery store.
Wow.
So again, they don't leave their neighborhood. So in the curriculum, you had to build tons of background knowledge for them to understand the stories that they were given to read. And that's the other thing. A lot of times, students they're not reading books. They're not reading full books. They're reading
Yes.
excerpts. And as somebody who, I mean, behind me, there's hundreds of books
Hmm.
that my kids grew up reading and that I love sharing with them. And now kids aren't into that as much. And I'm not all about the extrinsic things. I want them to read for the love of reading.
Do you feel like ever since COVID, right, the influx of technology, it's like sped up at lightning rates, right?
Yes.
It's been there, students having cell phones, these gadgets. I'm a firm fan of, like, taking cell phones out of the classroom, not just out of the classroom, but they can take it in the building, like shut them down at the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, kudos to Australia for doing that. I mean, I think there's other countries doing that too, like really cutting back on cell phones, social media, these things that young kids are getting into. COVID hits, right? Now we force them all to be online, and they're all on computers. And so we have all this tech in front of you. Do you feel like it's setting them back now? Like you said, reading's important. They should read all the time. Not audiobooks, like actual reading, holding it, reading the words, learning comprehension. It makes them just more intelligent across the board. Do you feel like there's been a massive decline since COVID as far as students' abilities to learn more information better?
Not just information, but socialization.
Hmm.
Uh, that kids are constantly on phones, tablets, computers, Chromebooks. They're constantly taking tests on Chromebooks. The parents are like, well, they have a tablet. I'm like, get rid of the tablet. Please get
Hmm.
rid of the tablet. Every single behavior that I had, behavioral issue that I had stemmed from either YouTube or, TikTok or
Hmm.
something that they saw on a video. And
Yeah.
I always beg the parents, unless you're in the room, literally sitting by the child on a computer or a tablet or a phone, don't let them have it. Take it
No.
away. I'm begging them to take it away all the time.
Well, and you see an influx of anxiety that kids have, depression, because of the online world they live in, or the human mind can't take in that much information. Even creating this podcast, I use social media to like do this, and some days I feel like this is too much for me. That's why I schedule everything in the morning. It's like do its thing all day, and I don't touch it for like hours. It's like, what did I miss? But we can't do that. And young people, especially developmentally, with that much technology, they just can't handle that. And so, but also taking away tablets, taking away this. When I work in higher ed, I see it now. They come out of high school and they show up in the college campuses, and there's more anxiousness, more anxiety, more I'm stressed out, I'm more depressed. And like, where's this coming from? Like, and I'll say hi to them, and I walk down the hallways, and they're like, I always joke because they're clinging to some device, they have their headphones on, or like hugging the wall, they can't make eye contact. And I also say hello, and it like scares them, I think, sometimes. And like, did they short circuit a little bit because they just had a human interaction? But it's important, and it's kind of, you know, scary to think about the more and more kids are coming through this, and there's nothing being done. We see all this like legislation, other countries banning it or cutting back on social media and doing, but here in the States, it's fair game, right? And I don't want to get too political on this thing, but there's a lot of money behind these things that knowing, even like you see like social media companies, their kids don't use it. However, everybody else can, right? And so it starts to see a snowball effect, and you start to see them come into colleges, and they just can't socialize, and it's starting to see like this shift a little bit. I meet students too. They're like, I'm getting burned out. It's just too much, and hopefully they start to see a shift. But as long as there's standards that prevent it at the education system and policies from the federal level that don't stop anything, then it's gonna be tough for teachers. Tough for teachers.
And see, that's interesting that you said that because speaking of standards, the Common Core State Standards, none of it ever involved computers.
Hmm.
If you look deep into the Common Core State Standards, and as an instructional coach, I mean, I dug deep
Hmm.
into the reading standards, the math standards, and not one standard in there is really about using technology.
Hmm.
It's about reading, it's about analyzing text, it's about understanding the characters and being able to compare and contrast characters and setting and understanding the theme and comparing and contrasting the theme and really building on each of the standards so that once you're in high school and you graduate, you have been able to build on your knowledge and apply it
Yeah.
and synthesize it, not being able to access a computer. I mean, I watch 4-year-olds
Hmm.
on a tablet and they know how to get to TikTok in like 5 seconds,
Hmm.
but they don't say hello
Hmm.
or how are you doing or have a conversation or know how to tie their shoes.
Hmm.
And that kills me.
Yeah. Well, it's not to throw out the word addiction too much, but you're developing addiction, right? You ever see the reaction if you take a tablet away from like a toddler, and you see that combustion meltdown, right? And then the parent panics and they quickly give it back, right? Because it's an addiction, right? They go through withdrawal, and there's a symptom of that, and they're very young, and like I said, finding TikTok, not finding something educational, but TikTok, this. They're too young to be having a social media account, putting themselves out there. There's so many things that need to be addressed. So I can ask you this question post retirement. If you could fix it, what would you do to fix everything?
Oh, there's so much I would do.
I don't think got
Um,
so much time on this. I just opened a can of worms. Whew.
there's so much I would do. So for instance, I had a spring break camp last
Mm-hmm.
year before I retired, and I told my teachers under no circumstances is any technology to be used the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are to be working with you face to face, math, reading, science. I don't care. As long as they are not using technology, I want them to apply what they're learning. And in that week, every kid came on time. Every kid was exhausted, it was excited to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Every kid was like, I learned so much and I didn't use the tablet. And I got to talk with this person and learn from this person. And I got to read this book. And the kids were so excited to
Mm-hmm.
come back and try it again. And they never asked for a computer. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I would do is from preschool, and we have preschool all the way up through third grade, no technology at all, none.
Mm-hmm.
And kindergarten, it needs to be more play based.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, we need the standards, but again, none of the standards say that you can't enforce play. So, we need to make sure that the kids are applying what they're learning through play
Mm-hmm.
and bring that back because I don't know why a 5-year-old is sitting at their desk for 7 hours. Then in third grade, slowly bring it back, bring some technology for a purpose, only for a purpose, maybe to given a specific website or a search engine to research something. But they don't need to type because I'm going to tell you right now, the fine motor skills
Mm-hmm.
of many students, oh, yeah, mommy, it's so bad.
Yeah,
It's
I can imagine.
so bad that they can't write their name. They're struggling to take notes, and kids do not know how to hold a pencil. So
Wow.
many don't. I don't want to say all, but many
Yeah,
do not.
a higher
And
percentage.
yes, and I'm not about cursive. I could care. I mean, if you like cursive, great,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just writing,
Yeah.
being able to write. You don't need to have a computer to write a paragraph.
Well, the thing with computers now, it actually fills in a word for you. If you see it types out, it'll fix it. It'll grammatically check it. There's so much AI stuff. It says
Yes,
even if I'm writing emails and I sent you an email earlier, it just starts typing the whole thing out before I even finish the question. So just even that technology limits the ability to formulate sentences because you just hit enter and it creates the sentence. And so all these technology is designed to advance society, but in theory, it's kind of like dumbing us down a bit.
hmm.
I'm gonna put it
Oh,
bluntly.
100%.
It kind of reminds me of that movie Wall-E, great Disney movie, where you see people floating around on a spaceship and they're in their chairs with the screens in their face, and they just have every. They don't even know what body their bone density is gone because they're just plugged in. Great movie for that kind of reference. And then I remember the scene where they fall out of their thing and they like realize there's people and they started having conversations and they went to back to their planet Earth and but it goes back to that concept, right? The sensory development.
Right.
When you're plugged in so much, you lose all sensory things because you're just one track at that point. And so play-based education is important because you're activating all the senses. That's why those students were probably enjoying that experience in the summer camp because everything was activated. Touch,
Right.
smell, feeling, all the things that come with it versus just plugged into a laptop or a tablet, right?
And not only that, but empathy too.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the tablets and all of the technology, our kids have lost empathy
Mm-hmm.
and they aren't as empathetic to their friends and the socialization of understanding how to treat others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we just focus on the social emotional supports of what kids need at an early age, we'll have less fighting, we'll have less bullying, we'll have
Mm-hmm.
less of all of this angst that so many anxiety that so many of our kids are going through right now.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I've been doing the work that I've been doing at the college level, private practice work, and it's continuous. And sometimes even as an administrator, as a teacher, advisor, counselor, it gets exhausting, right? Because there's so much more. I feel like even high school counselors are doing more like mental health work. I feel like they're getting inundated that they're not even doing the college prep stuff as much because they're just so inundated with students who are anxious or
Right.
stressed or may have difficult home environments or friends bullying, and all these things are coming that these high school counselors are just burnt out too, that they can't keep up with it. And that's kind of not what their job is supposed to be either, right?
Right.
And so even from a college person, the preparation when they show up on my doorstep, I have students say, well, when I was in high school, we didn't do any exams. We didn't have this. My teacher was halfway checked out. This is here in Connecticut. I'm like, that's concerning,
Yes.
because we're gonna like really, eat you up and throw you out quickly. Especially I work with STEM students. I'm like, if you can't do math and you want to be an engineer, this is going to be a brutal ride.
Mhm.
And I'm very direct and very honest, and accountability is like, I've had students come to me saying, well, I just forgot to do the assignment. Can I get more time? I'm like, the hell no, you're not. I go,
No.
because you forgot doesn't mean I have to stop everything because you're important now. But but they don't have that accountability sometimes, or it's not enforced either by parents or home life, that there's a lot of enabling behaviors. And that's where you start to see bullying or just acting out because behavior's enabled. And especially without risk, or if parents are working, it's easy to get a tablet or a cell phone. Is here you go, babysit this, plug in. I got to work or got to do this, and it's hard. You can't want to fault the parents either because they're trying to make ends meet. It's a big systemic problem, I think, that starts from the top and works all the way down to the states, and it's tough. It's tough.
But when I was a kid, I was a latchkey kid. I was a latchkey kid at 6.
Oh yeah.
And my father who raised me, he worked different shifts. So he
Hmm.
worked graveyard. And I'm just trying to think of, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 19 and
Well,
20.
this and the cell phones didn't do much. You just dial and text, and you had to push the buttons like several times
It
to
was
get a
a,
letter. Yeah.
yeah, I had a brick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is cool. You thought you were cool, like Zach Morris. You said Gen X. I'm Gen X as well. You should probably listen to the episode. Gen X is the best. I probably just posted it for season one.
I,
Same latchkey. Did you hear it?
I
Yeah.
did. I
And
loved it.
we grew up in this generation. I grew up on a farm in the Midwest, and we just figured stuff out. And I think, and there was no Google this and get the answer. We had to problem solve and figure this out. And I think we're better off for it, right? But it's tough. But speaking of Gen X, I like to have Gen X conversations. Now you're in retirement. Do you find yourself like, I want to revisit my youth a little bit and kind of go back to what my Gen X life was like and bringing back some of the old days? Or do you see that in retirement? Or what's it going to look like now for you going forward?
Well, a little bit. So going forward, I'm going to be a CASA volunteer.
Okay.
A CASA volunteer is a court appointed special advocate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very looking forward to that, working with kids, because I have found that as long as I'm working for and with kids, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's when kids are not part of the dynamic, I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Um, but then I also have a family member who has Alzheimer's, and I was with her today, and I've worked with and talked with her over the years and seen her decline.
Mm-hmm.
But she always remembers my face and she knows who I am. But I've never talked with her and friends
Mm-hmm.
that also have Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So I was at her care facility, and they all have different types of Alzheimer's and different. And so I found that, I want to go back to not using technology at all,
Mm-hmm.
just showing pictures and coming up with different games that they like. I was trying to get to know all three women really well. Of course, I know my aunt, but
Mm-hmm.
the other women really well that were there, and just doing things like we used to, different types of hands-on games
Mm-hmm.
to help them so that they can still have that smile, that glow about them, that they get excited about different things or a visit or an interaction. So um, that's what I look forward to doing.
Well, it's good. We chose those the pink cloud moments too. That's another episode about Alzheimer's. There's another episode on season one from one of the guests. Her name is Peggy, and she talked about her mother and having Alzheimer's and stuff like that. That experience, as a family member going through that. So it was a good episode too, as well. Now you give back to your community. Now your family, right? So you talked about in the beginning. It was a kind of a family decision to come to retirement. You sent some pictures of your family too, as well. Talk about what it's like now. Is this to be with family, to have all this time back? Do you see it like another sense of like reconnecting and doing more things with the family?
Yes. So I'm very lucky to have very patient husband who's decorated many classrooms and helped me organize lots of different activities for school. So now I get to spend more quality time with him. And we have two kids. So I have a daughter who lives in Manchester, New Hampshire. And instead of saying, oh, I'll wait till the summer to come visit, and it might be 2 summers because I've got something to do over the
Hmm.
summer for school, I can just jump on a plane and go.
Yes.
And I'm very lucky that my daughter loves to um, design different activities for us to do. And when we go back east, it's always a different type of trip. It's so much fun. She is the ultimate planner for trips. And then my son and daughter in law live here in Las Vegas. So I get to spend more quality time with both of them, which really warms my heart because I love spending time with my kids.
Like I said, like a new lease on life for you now, right? You've
Yes.
gone through this, and I'm sure going through the changes, stress, bringing it home, and trying to keep work at work, and it's probably hard to do when you're a principal and stuff. So I guess being retired and not having to go back to school here, probably you would be going back to school. What? But you being a principal, you're never really off, right? So you'd
Never.
probably be
No.
showing up. Everyone's coming back to class. Now you don't have to do that. Like I said, you can skip the whole process, get on a plane, go to New Hampshire, and have a great time. So, beaches, why is now, how about any beach trips? Like, because this is the beach chair chats, so it has to happen. I think you should go to the beach at some point.
So I just went to the beach in New Hampshire. I
Nice.
went to Rye Beach,
Okay.
and it's right out of Manchester. I love it there. No matter what my daughter plans, we always go to Rye Beach to get a lobster roll.
Nice.
And then we sit by the beach and eat our lobster rolls. And it's just the best tasting
Nice.
lobster roll on the planet. And then I tasted for the very first time fluffy chowder.
Fluffy chowder.
Yes. So I love clam chowder, but my daughter said, "Do you want to try fluffy chowder?" I said, "Sure."
Hmm.
What is that? And it's lobster chowder.
Interesting.
It's so good.
Might have a new title for this podcast, Fluffy Chowder. I don't know. I always try to find I always try to find unique titles for these after I edit. It's like, what's it gonna be called? Fluffy Chowder could be a good draw, right? But yeah, I'm not a native of New England. I've been here since 2015. I grew up in the Midwest in Nebraska, very landlocked, no beaches. And now I'm spoiled because I live like a 5 minute walk to the water. So I'm
Oh,
spoiled and I'm grateful for it. I'm humbled by it just because it's just nice. And I can never go back to the landlockedness. I would feel stuck, trapped, right?
my daughter says the same thing. She's been back east since 2015. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's and when she moved, she went to Pennsylvania. She went to Penn State, and she
Hmm.
hasn't left. She
Yeah.
loves back east. She loves it
Hmm.
back there.
It's a wonderful place. Like I said, New England has a lot of charm to it. I always liked because it's the historical charm, right? There's beaches all over the place, but I just feel like New England has the history, and it just seemed more timeless and classic. I'm not trying to say California is bad or Florida is bad, but it's just something classic about it. Um, just I don't know. It's just a prestigious thing. I think it's just wonderful, and so that is that. So what other things you looking forward to do post retirement? I mean, bucket list things. Not, you know,
We're going on a cruise
okay.
in 29 days. I'm not
20,
counting
you're
it.
not counting at all. Nothing. 29 days. Do you have it down to the minute and the hour too, or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we're so when the kids were little, we went on family trips, of course. But then my daughter went away to school and my son is busy with life. And so we haven't been on a big family trip since the kids were in high school. And now
Mm,
we're going on our first big family trip together on an Alaskan cruise. I
nice.
cannot wait to do
Well,
this.
you're not, I mean, 29 days. I mean, that could be the name of the podcast too. But by the time it comes out, I might actually be there. Who knows? You can listen to it while you're on the cruise boat, and then anybody else is like, hey, what are you listening to? It's like everybody on the last cruise should join in the fun.
I'm
Um,
all about it.
but you have worked hard for your whole career. You've done this, you should give yourself your pat on the back, give yourself your flowers because 31 years is a long time in education. I've been doing it about 20 plus here as well, and it's a rewarding job. It's tough too, just because of the change, but we keep doing it because of why we do that, right? What drew you to it. I think it's always about the students and just always giving back because you could give one impact, one student one way can impact many. Just don't know the role you play. But obviously, in 31 years, you have impacted a lot of lives. And I'm sure you've had people come back and thank you for that, or have had those stories, and that's what gives it satisfaction for doing this.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, Tika, it's been wonderful having you on today.
Thank
And,
you. It's been great to be here.
and you're my first person I've interviewed from Nevada. So, it's awesome. I wish you all the best of luck in retirement and doing all the wonderful things. I think you have a lot in front of you. You're going to keep doing some great things because as a fellow Gen Xer, we just keep doing things,
That's
right?
right.
Why stop? So, but it's been wonderful having you on. I hope all is well and take care of yourself.
Thank you. And I look forward to listening to more of your podcast because I really like it.
I think I appreciate that.